everybody. Welcome to the Queen Comedy Podcast. It's James, and today I have a great comedian for you guys. Here's what's crazy about this is like this guy is amazing. He's been around like doing stand-up forever. He's done churches. He's a really clean comedian. He gave me advice when I was starting. Like, I don't even know if he remembers that, but like I got advice when I was starting and thinking, oh my gosh, these people are willing to give me their time and energy to give me advice and then see that I'm willing to take that advice and give me more advice. I'm like, this is the cycle that I constantly want to be in. That's the whole point of the podcast, is the cycle to do it. So he's a award-winning club comedian. He's in demand at mega churches, retreats, corporations, conferences. Again, being clean is huge, you guys. He's his inspirational comedies reached millions of television broadcasts on Comedy Central, ABC Family, NBC, and he's toured the entire world. And he's done military stuff. He's just been all over the place. And actually, this is the greatest quote ever. The New York Times reported on one of his tours, this show had the audience convulsing. Now, think about how great of a show you have to be giving to have an audience convulsing with laughter, right? He was not shocking anybody. We can ask him if he shocked people. I don't think he was. But beyond the stage, he's also been married for 27 years. He has 3 kids, and he's in SoCal just like me. So please welcome the very funny, the very talented Nazareth. Welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Thank you, JD. You're in SoCal too, right? That's awesome.
I am, yeah, out towards more towards Ventura, area.
You can't drink and podcast at the same time.
I do. I always do. I drink water all the time. People always think this is beer. It is not. It's water.
It has the same fonts as the beer. That font does not go on water, buddy.
It shouldn't go on water, but it really is like the best water ever.
Liquid death?
Yeah. Have you ever had it?
Why would I even buy something that has the word death on it?
Because it murders your thirst. That's the whole tagline is murder your thirst.
Like I've always worried I need to kill my thirst. I need to destroy my. I'm Middle Eastern, buddy. The word death and me carrying something with the word death on it. No, thank you.
So welcome to the podcast. For people who don't know you or have never watched you, also, why have you never watched this gentleman? He's amazing. Give us your backstory, your bio, your history a little bit.
History. Okay. I was born in the Holy Land, which is right now a sensitive.
I know, very sensitive.
It's hard. Pray for both people, both innocent people on both sides. That's what we do. We love people. As a Christian, I love everybody. I love the Jews. I love the Palestinians. I'm against evil, against killing. So that's my point. But anyway, this is not a political thing, and I'm not a political comedian. So if sometimes, people call me, can you come and do this political? I don't do political because I think we're at a point, JD is, can I call you JD? Or
yeah, 100%, yeah.
JD, we're in a time right now where comedians are no longer just comedians. Comedians now are the healers of the culture, the uniters of the culture. And I try, when I write my comedy now, I try to make sure I'm uniting the audience. I'm not dividing it. I'm not finding material just to go on one side or the other, because everyone who comes to your show and to my show, they want to laugh. They want to forget about their problems, about their life. So that's why. But anyway, how did I start? I was born in the Holy Land. 3 years later, at age 3, we moved to Kuwait. I grew up in a 145-degree weather. Shut up, Siri. Nobody talk to you, okay? That's the worst cuss word I say. And so I grew up in Kuwait, went to high school, then moved to Toledo, Ohio to go attend the University of Toledo. Because my parents thought, New York and Los Angeles, there's a lot of drugs there. So the next day in Toledo, I bought some weed. Because when you live in a strict country like Kuwait, where you can't be drinking, no alcohol, no nothing, and you have a strict mother. So the minute I came to the US, it was like a kid in a candy store. I just wanted to do everything. But anyway, so I went to school there. Right away, my parents lost their work in Kuwait, so they had to move with me to the US, to Ohio. And that was hard because I became the parent, you know what I mean? Like I had to get 3 jobs and just come home. Dad is just sitting on the couch playing crossword puzzles. I'm like, get up, go to bed. We have bingo tomorrow, Father. And pull your pants down. Just because all your friends have their pants all the way up, pull it down. But anyway, so so I, moved to California because my parents couldn't handle the minus 20-degree weather. It was evacuation weather in Ohio.
Yeah.
So we moved to Southern California. My aunt lived here, got 3 jobs, started working. And then I don't know why I decided, hey, I want to run a marathon. I'm like, what? I was smoking at the time, doing drugs, drinking, like, and working 3 jobs. And I said, I'm gonna run a marathon. So I went to the Los Angeles Marathon, signed up. The day of the race, I'm like, I'll do 2 miles and then smoke a cigarette, then maybe do 2 more. And I just started running, and everybody's like, hey, keep going, keep going. And I got to the 10 miles, and my lungs going, you're on your own. Don't listen to these people. These people are gonna leave right now, and I'm stuck with you the rest of your life, and I'm quitting. And I have hardly breathe. Everybody just keep going. It's downhill from there. Anyway, I get to the 23 mile of the 26.2 miles, and this homeless lady, she goes, oh honey, you can't quit now. So I just like, and then when I got to the finish line, they gave me my medal. I just laid down there and I said, what do I want to do in life that if I never get paid for it, I'll do it to the best of my ability? Because I knew right there and then I'm capable of doing a lot more than I think I can. So I said, I want to make people laugh. It wasn't like I want to be funny and make people laugh because they think I'm funny. I wanted to make people laugh. So the
Wow.
next day I took action. I went to the LA Cabaret in Encino. It's no, I don't know if it's still there. I don't think
I,
it's still.
I don't think it's there. No.
Yeah. And I signed up at 7 o'clock for open mic. First time ever. There were 300 people in the audience. People are dying laughing there. And then by the time I went on the open mic, it was midnight. And there was
Wow.
like 9 drunks left in the club. And 2 of them fell off their chairs laughing. And I'm supposed to do 3 minutes. At 2.5, I started panicking because I didn't have material. I didn't have a lot of material. I was just doing jokes. I learned, I used to tell people when they pick on me, like, oh, you Middle Eastern, you live in a tent. I'm like, yeah, it's a 2-story tent with a 2-camel garage. And stuff like that. And I started doing, I'm like, yeah, man, the earthquake happened and the Slurpee machine fell on my head. I'm glad I had my turban on. Stuff like that. And people were dying laughing. I go, I can do this. So the
Yeah.
next day I signed up at the Comedy Store. The next day I went to the Laugh Factory. The next day I went to the Improv in Santa Monica. At the time they had the big Improv, and we you just kept going. And one time there was Mark Lano. Mark Lano was a co-owner of the Improv Comedy Club. All we do is the one we know all the time is Bud Friedman.
Right. Of
But
course.
Bud Freeman's partner was Mark Lano.
Wow.
And Mark Lano, that day he saw me and Sherry Shepherd at the same day we started. And we did the what do you call it? We did just our showcase, like 6 minutes, and he loved it. And he said, you guys can come anytime to the improv. Anytime you want, any improv you want to go, you can.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a huge break for me. So I started doing the Santa Monica, started doing the Melrose, and then I started getting gigs opening up in Phoenix, Arizona, and then I got a gig at Aladdin in Vegas.
Wow.
There's no, so started things, and then got management. And my first year I got management. This unheard of for me. It was like within a year I have management, and then the manager comes to me and said, Nazareth, NBC is looking to do a sitcom called Fish Out of Water, a Middle Eastern man in America. He said, we're writing it about you. Richard, my assistant, is writing this sitcom for you. So you're going to be on NBC. And at the same time, there was a Virgin Atlantic were coming to the US. And they said, we're going to do a contest. We're going to pick the funniest comedian in the country and put him on our airlines to do comedy. Guess,
Wow.
guess who won?
So did you
Yours
win?
truly. Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And then the next day, Saddam Hussein went into Kuwait,
Oh no.
and I got a letter saying, "I don't think we want to put anybody on them in the airplane."
Yeah.
This, and I didn't get anything, but that's when things were
Wow.
started blowing up for me, and I started getting all that. And I did Comedy Central, and at first it used to be on HBO, and then became Comedy Central. I did several shows for them and all that, and somehow that was my start. That's the beginning.
That's an amazing start though. Like to go from like there were so many things you were doing wrong in your life, right? The things that could like end you and ruin your life and drag you down, to saying, you know what? No, let's restart this whole thing. I overcame something huge, which a marathon is huge. Like I couldn't run a marathon even in my when I was in my best shape.
You think. I
I
wouldn't
don't.
do it
Yeah.
now because the joint, the doctor said, you never want to run a marathon. Your joints it'll hurt your joint. But what I'm saying is like, you have to say, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. I mean, I'm not gonna climb Mount Everest, but
Right.
but you know what I'm saying? You can. So that's what's happening. And then another break came in my life is, well, I was doing the Ice House in Pasadena,
Love the nice house.
and if I did my show, and then this Japanese American comedian went up and he did clean stuff, and I was really intrigued by that. I was like, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" He goes, "No, I don't drink." I said, "Do you want a cigarette?" He goes, "No, I don't smoke." He goes, You asked me two questions, and I asked you one." I go, "What?" He said, "Would you go to church with me?" I go, "I'm from the Holy Land. I'm Greek Orthodox Christian, generations of Christian. We gave you Jesus. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't I go to church? We give you. What did the Italians give you? Pizza. What did the French give you? The Statue of Liberty. What did the Chinese give you? Walmart. We gave you Jesus. And so you would come. I said, yeah. So I went to church through that. And actually, I thought God hated me. I was afraid of dying. I knew God can know my heart. And my heart at the time was like, I wanted to be the number one comedian in the country. I wanted my sitcom to be the number one sitcom. I wanted every girl in the audience to fall in love with me. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted that. That's what my heart. And then I was just faced with something like, wait, there's something else that can satisfy me that have nothing to do with that. So I said, okay, so I turned my life to Christ that day. And then I said, I'm quitting comedy. So I called my manager on Monday morning. Oh, you should have heard that coming. I said, listen, Chuck, I'm quitting. He goes, what? You're kidding. I go, no, 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 I'm quitting. He goes, why? What's going on? I go, I'm a Christian now. He goes, you've always been a Christian. He's Jewish. I go, he goes, no. Uh, I go, I'm serious. I'm quitting. He goes, no, you're going with a different network, aren't you? I go, no, I'm not going with anybody else. I'm not going to a different man. I'm not signing up with them. I'm quitting. And after like 200 some F words, he goes, okay, fine. You are losing a huge, huge opportunity in your life. I go, I'm okay with that. I found what I'm happy about. So anyway, a week later, my pastor comes to me at the church, that small church in Tustin, California. He goes, Nazareth, would you like? At the time, I still had several gigs that I had to finish because I promised to do them. But
Right.
now I'm like getting my act clean. I'm just like trying to cut everything that doesn't honor God. And they said, oh, we're going to come to the Improv in Irvine at the time. It was in Irvine. We're going to come see you. I go, no, you can't because I'm clean, but the comedians before me are not. They go, well, why don't you do something here at church? I go, no, you can't do comedy at church. He goes, well, that's in 1992.
Right.
He goes, why not? I go, you can't honor God with comedy. He goes, why? God created humor, Satan perverted it. You can do comedy for God. I said, oh, okay. So we did that night. I mean, this church is very small, and we had 400 people uninvited, filled up every space in that church. And I had a standing ovation. I did a clean show, and I knew right there and then. I said, you know what? I can do this clean. I can do this to honor God. And from that moment on, it's just the doors open, and I go, okay, now I can't go to those hell holes to do, open mic nights and bars and stuff. And I don't want to go to bars anymore. I don't want to go to that. So somehow the opportunity opened. There was a guy named Chuck Colson. If you know anything about politics, he was with Nixon, and he's the one that was blamed for Watergate. He was put in prison for a year and a half. He's a high-end attorney. And in prison, he said he accepted Christ. He said, I'm starting prison fellowship. And he started something where he said, I want to bring comedians, entertain musicians, athletes, and ex-offenders to go back into the prison, entertain the prisoners, but share the hope of Christ with them. So they asked me to come. So now I've done like 200 some prisons, and it was, JD, that was the time you try new material and it works or not. Because if you're on death row, or if you're in living life, You're not going to laugh just because to be nice.
Right.
And those people are sober, they're not drunk. And if they laugh, that's a good joke. So that's after that, I went back to start doing churches, and it was like, boom, it was too like this strong material that came into it. So that's where I started my new act. I tried it in the prisons and then started doing youth, and I am here today.
Did you call your manager back, and did he take you back? Like, did you call your manager
No,
back and take
never.
no?
I've never signed up with any manager after that.
Wow. Wow.
I had some agents for a while, and then I started my own. You know what? I'm a micromanager, JD.
Okay.
If I need, I hire people to be my road manager. I hire people to do the marketing. I hire people. But why pay 20% to someone who's going to take the phone call only? Well, and to do right the contract, you can. And now with Google and social media and everything, people can find you any. If they want you, they're not going to go to an agency. They're going to find you.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm looking as you're telling me stories, I'm looking at all the books that you have in the background, and I'm counting how many of those books I also have. And I'm like, we have a lot of similar books in the background. Like, you're one of the only few people I know that also own this book, by the way.
Yes, I have that.
I
You
see it
know
right
what?
behind you.
I'm reading a book right now. I want to recommend it to every comedian. I'm an Audible guy. I'm still a student. I've been doing comedy 33 years. I'm still every day I'm learning comedy. It's a huge art. And you gotta, and the book right now I'm reading, it's just Audible. It's amazing. It's called Mastering Stand-Up Comedy. Mastering by Stephen Rosenfield.
Yeah,
Stephen
yeah.
Rosenfield. Okay, now if you don't want to read any other book about comedy, that's a book to read. If you're just starting out or you're a professional, that's a book to read. And it's really have a lot of interesting things.
It's a great book. I'm actually trying to get him on the podcast because I really liked his book a lot. So that's funny that that's the book that you bring up, because I'm in the process of working that out to get him on. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So when you started getting churches and doing more things like that, what did you notice? Did anything else change in your life? Do you notice that, like, when the moment you decided I'm going to be clean, I'm going to, make sure that my comedy's in service, as opposed to serving myself or feeling like I want to do it for money and women and whatever and all these other things. What else changed in your life? What else did you notice changing?
It became, when I gave my life to Christ, and that's what I said, how it's happened to me. I started thinking of other people than me, and I go, okay, there's poor people that can never come to a comedy club and pay, 20-30 bucks and to drink minimum. And those people really are hurting, and they really need to laugh, because I know the power of laughter to communicate a message and to encourage people. So I started, I started doing events where I rent the arena or a stadium or a theater, and invite people for free. And
Wow.
we started with giving people like 1,000 bags of food, 1,000 toys, and say, come to a comedy called Laughter for All. It's a ministry that I started back in 2013. And the goal is to bring laughter to people who are hurting. So we do homeless shelters every year. I go to Dallas. I bring a couple comics. We do a homeless shelter. I pay the comedians. It's not like they do it for free. We go to prisons sometimes and do comedy, but comedy plus encourage. I notice when you do clean, JD, there's a little inner respect for yourself that gives you that professional feeling that, you know what, it's harder to write clean. Anybody can laugh. If you pull your pants down, people will laugh, but then they'll call the cops for you. So if you try to use shock humor, I mean, that used to work back in the 90s and the 80s. You say a F word and everybody's like, oh, but now you can't compete because there's no envelope to be pushed. It's already done. So to write clean, and I appreciate what you're pushing for clean comedy. To write clean is a little harder, but it doesn't have to be that way, because if you're a comedian and you're trying to do clean comedy, go, how do I do clean comedy? Because I don't think it's clean. It's funny. Well, what are you filling your mind with? If you're watching movies that's always F this and F this, or sexual or porn or stuff about, and you're hanging out in bars and stuff, and your friends are all cussing and stuff, guess what? A comedian downloads information, and just somehow we have this weird look at life, and what comes out is very creative, different look at life that people go, I never seen it that way. But if you're downloading garbage, garbage is going to come out. If you're downloading clean, I try to avoid anything or anybody who cusses.
Right.
Because sometimes you're talking to the audience and you don't want to say, oh man, where did that come from? Because so that's that, you have that respect. Also, when you're a comedian, comedians in my opinion are the most intelligent people in the world. And people will listen to a comedian because a comedian can relate to them. And the best comedy, and you know that, JD, the best comedy is comedy that other people can relate to, that they go, oh yeah, I feel the same way too. Oh yeah, I go through that. And once people relate to you, they like you. And once they like you, they listen to you. So if you say, I like to drink liquid death, what are they going to do the next time they go to the store and find liquid death? They're going to buy one. Why? Because that funny guy that I can relate to told me to buy it. See that power that I have? See, I use that power to encourage people, to give them hope. I wrote a book called Hope in 24 Hours. And in my book, I just put certain, you know how sometimes you get up in the middle of the night and you're thinking of a problem and you go, you know, the bank is going to call tomorrow morning. Are they going to do this? And they're going to charge me this thing. Or, oh, you know, this person's going to hate me. And they're going to, you know, I always say, add one more scenario. Maybe God will do something different. And that's what you have to think about. And that's what the book Hope and Twin. There's so many things that happened in my life. One day I was single. I saw a woman in the Gaza Strip, asked her to marry me. Then 5 days later, we were engaged. One day I was single, 20 hours later, I'm planning a wedding. A lot of times. One day I was in debt with the bank because of the 2008, 2009 crash of the market. And the bank wouldn't give me a break. And I owed like $70,000. Next day, I get a FedEx with $100,000 check from a friend that I never thought would do. They didn't know anything about my challenge, but God can change the situation 24 hours or less. So I always give that people that hope. Whatever it is that you think is going, you start going, oh, it's going to get this. You know what? It could be bad. It can tomorrow thing. All the great things that happen in your life the day before you didn't know they were going to happen.
Exactly right.
Exactly. And that's what I do at my show, or give people the hope that, hey, you know what, if you're afraid of dying like I did, there's hope in Christ. You can go to heaven. There's, you know, if you do this, be good to your wife. You know, when you're married, you're one flesh. Don't be selfish. And stuff like that you encourage people. So my audience leave the show not just laughing hard, they're encouraged. Last night, I mean, I just finished my last date on the tour, A Time to Laugh, and I was in Texas, in Tyler, Texas, at a cowboy church. Wow. Everybody in the audience was wearing cowboy boots, and every man was wearing a cowboy hat. And standing ovation, side-splitting laughter. And I just encouraged them at the end, and they were so grateful. When people give you a standing ovation, they're grateful for your comedy, but you also give them the encouragement, and they become fans.
I think I know about that church from Nick Morrison. Nick Morrison, I think, does that cowboy church. He's a cowboy. Do you know Nick? Do you know Nick?
No, but there's a lot of cowboy churches around the country.
Yeah,
not just in Texas. I did one in Northern California. They're all over.
Wow.
The nicest people in the world.
100%. So I think that this, I can't remember who said it. I always attribute it to Robert G. Lee, but I could be wrong. But when I did the Clean Comedy Challenge at the Ice House, someone said you can always dirty up clean, but you can't clean up dirty, right? And so that always sticks out to me as a thing I tell other comedians when they say, well, I don't know how to be clean. I'm like, listen, if at some point you want to be dirty, right? If you decide like, oh, I want to be dirty or whatever, write all your jokes clean. You can add anything you want to those jokes afterwards. You can make them as dirty as you want. But if you write a dirty joke first, you're never going to be able to reverse engineer that and make that clean. You have to start clean.
Yeah.
And so many comedians now, well, that I know that I've talked to after that go, you know what? I'm going to be clean now. I'm just going to be clean. It's like, yeah, do that, because there's so much that you could do with clean comedy. And I had the same thing happen to me when I started comedy of saying, oh, you can't come see me because everyone else before me is dirty. You know, so I started producing my own shows that were clean and family friendly and all that stuff. And
Thank
then
you for that.
yeah, because I learned so much. And I did. I went doing the Comedian Comedy Challenge. I learned so much from everybody there, Leslie and Robert G. Lee and you. And there's like so many people there. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is how I want to make people laugh. I don't want to have to say the F word. I don't want to have to talk about this gross thing. I don't want to that's not what I wanted to do.
But look what kind of doors that's gonna open for you when you're doing clean. And by the way, Robert G. Lee is my comedy writing partner, and he is this guy. If you want to know anything about writing comedy,
Yep.
that's the man to listen to. When you do clean, you can do corporations, you can do schools, you can do even retirement homes, you can do associations, and those people pay a lot.
Yep.
I mean, I just did an association last month, 12 grand for 10 minutes.
Wow.
But they want you to be clean. I mean, no, there's others that pay more and others that pay less. I'm not saying every gig is that, but what I'm saying is when you're clean, you're no longer just in a comedy club or in a bar. You're all over.
Yeah.
You're all over. And that's, I mean, look who are the most famous people. Seinfeld, clean. Leno, clean. Tom Papa, clean.
Yeah.
You see how these people are making a lot of money. They're clean.
Yep. Yeah. It didn't even Nate Bargatze, who's like one of the biggest ones right now.
Yeah, look
clean.
at him. He's
clean. It's one of those things where when you decide you want to go down this road, it's a great thing to do because then you can go again. You can go anywhere. I've had places that go, we were looking for a comedian, but they have to be clean. And I'm like, I'm clean. They're like, really? Oh my gosh. We asked 8 other people and they couldn't do clean. Or I've asked people to be on a comedy show and I said, hey, I need 5 minutes clean. They're like, oh, I don't have 5 minutes clean. You don't have 5 minutes of clean material at all? Like, what? It made no sense to me.
right. And plus, like for example, yesterday, Cowboy Church. You know what? I don't think they want to hear dirty stuff.
No.
They don't. And I mean, you open the door to churches, and there's a lot of work. There's about, I don't know, there's 100 comedy clubs around the country, 200.
Yeah.
There's 250,000 churches around the country. I mean, just do the math and see how much work you can do for the rest of your life.
Yeah. That's what I would love to do. Churches. That's like one of my big goals to do churches.
Yeah.
I want to get dry bar first, and then I can do churches.
Yeah, a dry bar will get you some work, and then you go. No, if you go to church and you're reading the Bible, then you start thinking of funny stuff. That doesn't mean to have to be like Adam and Eve jokes. No, we do. Sometimes I bring, like, I'm doing a show in November 10th at Crossroad Church, which is my church. Every time I did this show 5 times, 3,000 people. And this time I'm going to have Robert G. Lee. I'm going to have this new kid that opened for me on my tour, Christian McCartney. And then I have Michael Rayner, who's a variety act.
Yeah,
myself. I can challenge anybody at any comedy club around the country to have the same quality that we're going to do that night. And the show is free. All the people have to do is bring a bag of groceries to donate to the pantry of the church. I mean, it's free. I'm paying the comedians. I'm going to be there, but I'm putting it together for free so people can come and enjoy their show. So that's what you can do with comedy. You can help people. You can encourage people. You can change their lives because of what you do.
Exactly. Now, if you could go back, besides being clean, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice when you were starting comedy, what would that piece of advice be?
Spend more time editing my act and writing every day, more time and writing comedy.
I love that. So what is your writing process like now? I know that I have heard from Robert G. Lee that there's a meetup of him and other people and they go over jokes together or whatever.
No, just me and him, we meet once a month.
Okay, all right. There you go.
I write every day at least half an hour.
Wow.
Or an hour. Every day. I mean, sometimes I was on the road for 6 weeks. So, I mean, I try to write. When you're on the road and you have a show every night, you're trying to write for that night or fix and edit. But when I'm in town, like now I'm going to be in town for a couple of weeks, I'm going to write every day because, if you're a comedian, professional comedian, 2 things you have to do. You have to make sure you get more work because without work, and make sure you write. Because when you write a new bit, That's what excites you to go out and perform it. If you're not writing, if you're stealing material from other people, you're gonna get burned out soon. But if you write a new bit, you go, I can't wait. I even want to go to Walmart and try it on 5, 6 people standing in line. You know what I mean? You're so excited to try it, and that's what keeps you going. So the more you write, and that everything, I always want to encourage people listen to Seinfeld's method of writing every day, half an hour, regardless what it is, garbage or not. You don't edit it, just write it, and then you can edit later. That really keeps your brain going, and and also I make sure I make 20 calls a day.
20 calls a day. Okay.
Yeah, I'm busy, but if I stop, I will have those dry seasons. I don't want dry seasons. So I make 20 calls a day. People, who do you call? I call associate. I send emails. Sometimes nowadays you don't call as much. You send emails, you send text. You go to a networking events. You meet people who run associations, run corporations, CEOs, and I always encourage people. I said, quickly, I said, I have a friend who owns a large internet company, IT, but it wasn't large. I remember when he started it. This guy, when he goes to a fast food and the lady goes, "You want fries with that?" He goes, "Yeah, but guess what? I do IT. If you know anybody who needs IT." I try that. I don't do it as much in the thing, but I was at a drive-through and I told the girl, I said, "Oh, I'm a comedian. I do churches." She goes, "My dad is the senior pastor of this large church right there, and he wants me to work so I can learn how to, to depend on myself." So I gave her my card and she gave it to her dad, and I did a show. It was thousands of dollars. But you know what? You always let people know what you do because you never know who's looking. And sometimes they go, "Oh, we don't know what we were gonna do for our Christmas party. We were gonna get a magician, but we had a magician left. Oh, a clean comedian. That's great. What do
I
you
don't
charge
I don't do
for?"
that enough. I am bad at self-promotion. I'm
You have
literally the
you have
worst person at self-promotion.
because you'll be doing a day job if you don't.
I
You're
know. I don't want to do a day
why?
job.
Yeah, why when you can just with enough, you know what? It keeps accumulating because let's say you do a corporation or a company and they like you a lot. Then that year, not next year, maybe the year after they get you. So now you have a future. I always tell comedians who are really frustrated about not getting work, every show you've done in the past and you did good at it, you planted a seed and there's a tree that grows. And that tree, maybe 15 years from now, will have a fruit and they will call you to say, "Remember when you came to our show? We want to," or, "Oh, I saw you at this event and I want you to come to that event." And it just keeps working. You'll always have work when you do a good job. I mean, you can't just be, I'm just going to go try some stuff I did. No, you work hard on your act. You go do the best job you can ever do. And then you will get residuals from that.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. That's great advice. That's
Okay.
amazing. Yeah, because I'm not good at self promotion. I'm literally the worst at self
Don't
promotion.
say that. You always say, I'm not. No, no, you can be. It's very easy. It just go online, which people in the past didn't have. Find out if people doing like the annual gathering of, hunters. Annual means next year you're gonna have a hunting gathering. Hey, would you like a comedian to come? And I have a couple jokes about hunting. You'll write them. Just
Yep.
read Hunting magazine, and they think you are a genius because you related to them on 2 seconds of your 15, 20 minute or 30-minute act. So that's what you do. You always look for opportunities where you can go and perform. So you don't have to be in the clubs all the time because unless you're a huge draw, you're not going to make a lot of money in the clubs.
Right. Exactly.
As a headliner. So
That's awesome. This is great. No, I just right here. This is like the biggest thing because now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make those 20 calls. I already do the writing every day, but I'm gonna
good.
make those 20 calls or emails because that's the part that I am struggling with is like constantly having work because it's feast or famine, and I don't want to go
Yeah,
through feast or famine all the time.
famine happens because when you're feasting, you're too busy feasting, doing the shows, you forget to plant for the famine.
Yeah, this is great. That's great. Now, where can people watch you? Where can they look at your stuff? Now, I went to go buy your book, but okay, so I only read Kindle ebooks. Do you know if there's going to be
It's on
ebook
Kindle.
version.
It's on Audible. Yeah.
It's on Audible.
You know
I'm
what?
on.
Let me email you the PDF. You don't have to buy it. But if
No,
people
I
want,
want to support.
oh no, I'm doing good. Thank
I know you.
I'm doing. I just came from a big tour. I'm doing good. But thank you. No, I'm not. I don't mean. I not any pride. I had my famine. I have. Pay college for 2 kids. I still
Wow.
have one more. I have leaking in my house right now. They're fixing all the ceilings and the walls. So I'm not saying. What I'm saying is, if people need to get a hold of me, I'm under NazarethUSA.com. NazarethUSA.com, or they can go on social media under Comedian Nazareth, at Comedian Nazareth. They can follow me on all of the things. They can get a hold of me through that. And if they want to get the book, it's under NazarethUSA.com. They can get that book. And there's another book I wrote before called You're So Funny, Daddy, Learning How to Communicate with Children Using Humor. It's for parents to,
Ooh, I like that.
yeah, so that's parents if you have kids under 18, if they're over 18, you don't need read the Bible.
We read the Bible with our kids every week. We
It's the
do
best.
do every Monday. We do like a family time or whatever, and then every Thursday for me and my daughters we do daddy daughter night. So we always go and have
Oh,
that. So
how
I
old
like
is he?
so I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, and
Oh, that's awesome.
they're
You're a
amazing. They're
good dad.
both cheerleaders. They cost a lot of money, so
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
it's
You know
very
what? You're a
amazing.
good dad. You're a good dad. If you're reading the Bible with them and go, taking them on dates, that's the
Yeah.
best thing.
I try to always just spend time with them. I want them to know that I love them and that they're loved and I'm here for them for anything. Like it's one of those things. And I'm so like trusting with my daughters. Like my oldest daughter, she was going to go to a party and she was like, she was getting ready to go to this party or whatever. And she's putting all her makeup on. She was getting dressed or whatever. She's all dressed up. And she comes out of her room and I go, are you ready? I'll drop you off. I can drop you off down the block. I can drop you off at the front, whatever you want. She's like, actually, I'm not going to go. And I'm like, why are you not going to go? She's like, well, I was looking at their stuff on Snapchat and they're drinking and I don't want to go if they're
Oh,
drinking. And
good for her.
I was like,
My
okay,
girl,
like that's what I'm talking about.
let's
And I
go
was
to
like,
dinner.
yeah, I was like, what do you want to do instead? And I think we went and got like snacks and we had like a family movie night or whatever instead or whatever. But I
Oh,
was like,
you're a good man.
she could have easily gone and not told me, anything and done whatever. And I would have never known the difference, but she was like, this is not the person I want to be. This is not the person that I'm being raised to be. I don't want to be any part of it, And so I was
That's
just
amazing. You're a
very
good dad.
impressed.
I do that. I'm taking one of my daughters to dinner tonight. I just got back in town,
It's
and
important.
it's very important to spend time with them. You give them an example of what a man, a man who will
Yep.
respect you would act like, and that's
Yep.
what they get. That's amazing. And just reading the Bible and learning how to be a good dad, a good husband, that's really makes all the difference in the world. Plus, again, they're 17 and 14 in few years. They're gonna have their own life. They're gonna be busy. Like
Yep.
right now, my son, he's 25, and he's home in the last 2 days. And I came home yesterday from Texas, and all three of them were at home, the 22, the 16, and the 25. And I just this joy, like, oh, this is like the good old days. They're
Yeah.
all here. And you take it for granted when they were all here. And that's what it is.
I'm starting to realize that, like, I'm getting there because my oldest, like, I'm getting ready to go to college. She'll bring it up every now and then, like, I'm getting ready to go to college. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, you don't have to leave. You don't have to leave. You don't have to go. You stay here forever if you want.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna cry, bro. You're gonna cry.
I know. I do cry sometimes. I'm like, I love them so much. Like, I feel like she was just a baby, and now they're like, she's a,
You're a good man, man. I'm gonna have you come and open for me one time. Where do you
I would
live?
love that.
City? What city?
Oak Park, Agora Hills. Do you know where that is? Off the
Oh, go to
101?
Hells. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Okay, so you're in LA.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I would love, I'll make sure to get you to come. And how
Thank
much
you.
time do you have that you're comfortable like getting?
20,
Oh,
no
perfect.
problem.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you know. I would love
I would love that. Now, advice for comedians who want to do churches. This is the part that I've struggled with. Where like I one of my best friends, David Studebaker, has done dry bar. He has a dry bar special. He's also clean. I worked with Robert G. Lee on stuff. Like we do all these things. I can never get booked at a church. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm using the wrong language. I have no idea what to do when it comes to churches. We've tried his church, my church, other churches. It had nothing as I don't know what happened. I got one church one time in Alaska. That was it. Like,
Oh, good. Well, you know what? It's you have to understand if you want to do a church, you have to understand the Christian mentality, and you understand the Christian mentality, you have to read the Bible. And
right.
when you read the Bible, you like you can, there's clean and there's church clean. Clean means, you know what? I was just my girlfriend, she's the worst roommate, she's sloppy, guess what? You can't do that in a church that you're living with this outside of
Yep.
marriage. That's sin. Stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, man, I was just out with my friends having 2 beers, and that doesn't work in a church. That's clean material. Doesn't work in a church. So if you understand the mentality of the church, that's the first thing. So churches depend on um, recommendations. So let's say you do a church in Alaska, the pastor likes you, have him write you a little recommendation, because pastors are always wary. Like, if I put this guy in front of my people, am I gonna hear from some of them going, "Did you hear he did this thing? How could you bring someone to church that's talking about this?" That's
Right.
what they're afraid of. They're not worried about having a great time, because they're more concerned about being complained to because of the comedian. And a lot of people don't, a lot of pastors, unfortunately, they have no idea that you can do clean Christian clean. I mean, the other day, I was on Saturday, I was at a church, part of our tour, my tour, and the guy came to me and he goes, "Oh, it's the first time I hear about you. I've done 5,000 events, probably 4,000 at churches. I've done every Christian television. I've been on networks. I've done all the festivals. I've done all the Christian radio station. And you'll be surprised how many people never heard of it. I
It's
mean,
crazy.
when you think of only 2% of the world knew who Billy Graham is,
Yeah.
2%, 2%, and he is huge. So there's always new audience. So they have to be top. So we are in the generation, like me and Robert G. Lee and Leslie and all these guys. We're the generation, just like we're the pioneers of the Christian comedy.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot more doors opening to churches. Churches will open the doors. Every church I've done now, they're doing comedy, because they trust you, but they have to be careful. So if you have recommendation from couple pastors, then you'll be fine.
Oh, I should totally do that. I can reach out to him and ask. I didn't think about that. See, like this is things that like you don't know if you don't know.
Right. Do you go to what church do you go to?
I go to a church in Oak Park. There's a small little church that we meet up at.
Okay. Have your pastor ever saw you perform?
That's a good question. I don't actually know. I
Invite him.
bet I should ask.
Invite
Yeah.
him and have him write you a letter.
Yeah, I should. I didn't even think about that. I've had other people from my church come, but I don't know if I've ever had.
If he comes, if it doesn't matter, when he writes his name, senior pastor of this church, Agora Health,
Yeah.
nobody thinks the church has like 20 members or 20,000 members.
Right.
It's another fellow pastor who approves of you.
I like that.
That really opens doors in the churches, and the church market is lucrative.
All right. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy
Welcome.
man. Is there anything that you want to share? Is there anything you want to promote or that you want people to know about or any of that stuff? Feel free.
Well, I just want to say, if anybody needs help, if any comedian who's a Christian wants to do churches, because that's the market I know a lot about.
Yeah.
I would love to help them out, just give them advice and help them with that. I just want to say, work hard. This is a career. This is a career. If you want to be a comedian, full-time comedian, gotta work on your writing, gotta work on your marketing. It's called show business. You gotta do a great show, and you gotta do great business to make it full-time. If you just want to do it for fun, do it for fun. But guess what? Don't expect a lot.
Wow. That is probably the best like ever ending to an episode ever. I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, thank you.
You helped start. It's funny is you helped start at my career. You and Robert G. Lee are two big people that helped start my career, and now we're back in this thing of like, all right, now we're going to move my career forward again with just these little pieces of advice that you got. I think I still have it recorded on my phone of where you guys gave advice to me at the Queen Comedy Challenge, and you're like, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and it was just like, do this, James, do this, James, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it, and I was barely even a year into stand up and getting this amazing advice. It really changed my direction
Anytime,
of my life.
man. You're a good man. I'd love to help in any way. Let me know.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm going to put all the links to Nazareth stuff in the show notes so you guys can go check him out. He's amazing. He's hilarious. You will have, if you want to laugh and like you could show everyone from like 8 to 80 or beyond comedy, this is the comedy show. 104,
My last
whatever.
audience member was 104.
Wow. Okay. There you go. 104. We're going to shoot for 108. Let's shoot for 108 and see if we get that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
What you do. Thank you for that podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.